This is the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for March 11th, 2019. The meeting is being audio and video recorded. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first I'm going to call for a motion to go into executive session for the following purposes, and there are three of them: to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Massachusetts Coalition of Police Local 360 and Teamsters Local 170 pursuant to the state open meeting law, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and to return to open session. And second, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, Deborah Egan, and to conduct contract negotiations with Deborah Egan, because an open session will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Board of Selectmen pursuant to state open meeting law. And third, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, James Broderick, and to conduct contract negotiations with James Broderick, because an open session will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board pursuant to the state open meeting law, and to return to open session.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
The motion to go into executive session has been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
I, Robert Snow.
I, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Hi, Dave Peters.
The motion passes. We are in executive session.
Probably wreak havoc with the normal hydraulics.
Okay, we're ready. All right. The public comment period for the next 10 minutes. Our first appointment is at 7:15, so I'll take up general business. General business number one is a letter of resignation from Melissa Ann Stasiak as reserve dispatcher. And her letter says, please let this letter serve as notice of my resignation from my position as reserve dispatcher for the Raleigh Police Department, effective immediately. I'm very sad to have to resign, but it presents a potential conflict of interest with my new employer. I learned so much during my short time with the department, and I enjoyed working with the officers here immensely. I'm very sad to go. Motion to accept her resignation with thanks.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. General business number two is a letter of resignation from Ronald Keefe from the position of Highway Foreman, Assistant Tree Warden. We have a letter from him addressed to Patrick Snow. It is with mixed emotions that I submit my letter of resignation. I am truly grateful for the many opportunities afforded me during my tenure with the town of Raleigh. I'm resigning my position of Foreman, Assistant Tree Warden, with the final day of employment on March 17. While this was a difficult decision, I feel it necessary to embark on a new position that will afford an opportunity for continued professional growth.
I've had the opportunity to meet with Ron on several occasions, and he's always been one to give more than over and above, and I think we'll miss him quite a bit on the job. He's done a very good job.
Would it be possible to give him a citation? Because he served as the interim highway surveyor when Scott Levitt died and did a great job.
Yes, he did.
Yes,
For
he
that
did.
period of time, so he did a lot more than just the position that he's.
Right.
Maybe have him come in, see if he'll come in on, maybe he'll be gone by then.
Okay,
See if he'll come in and, just so we can really give him a personal thanks
so it's a
for what he
motion,
did for us. He
a
really
motion
did a
to
good job.
accept his resignation with a citation.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All's opposed? The ayes have it. General business number three is a request to lift the hiring freeze for the position of Highway Foreman, Assistant Tree Warden. So we have a brief email from Patrick Snow, the Highway Surveyor, saying, Dear Board of Selectmen, I'm requesting you lift the hiring freeze for the Highway Department's foreman's position. It is with great regret that I received Ronald Keefe's letter of resignation. I would like to thank him for his many years of service and wish him the best luck in his future endeavors.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion to lift the hiring freeze has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Bernie.
Yeah, as a public comment,
Yep.
I noticed in the local paper that the property at 236 and 240 Newburyport Turnpike had sold recently for $1.3 million. I looked at the prior assessed value for those two plots together. They came to less than 700,000. So that raised a couple of questions. The first one is, how long does it take for a piece of property, fairly valuable piece of property, to get reassessed once it's sold? Because obviously that additional money represents a reasonable amount of money for the town. That's A. B, there's clearly obviously a buyer is prepared to pay what the buyer thinks the property is worth, which may be above or below the assessed value, but this gap is pretty substantial, and the property hasn't been improved as far as I could see. So that's basically a doubling of the value of the property above its assessed value, and that just struck me as a surprise, which ties into the point that I raised last week, which is that this stretch of Route 1, particularly with the rezoning from Wethersfield Street north, there may be other properties that have also gone up appreciably in value, and I think it's in the town's best interest to make sure that those properties have been appropriately assessed. And there may be a lot of value that's sitting there hasn't been recognized from an assessment point of view. And I know that whole process is very complicated and it's not easy to do, and there aren't that many properties that turn over, but there have been a few, and a number of properties have been reassessed recently, like the MCR Technologies building, and that tripled in its assessed value. So it seems to me as to make sense to kind of think about that whole stretch of
Across the hall. Board of Assessors handles all that.
Well, I'm bringing it to your...
Well, I mean, they're the ones that do it, we have no, nothing
Unfortunately,
on
I'm not allowed in this assessor's office.
it. They do that on a regular basis, they reassess.
I'm just curious, where exactly is the property? I mean, can you describe it? or-
It's just across from the Market Basket. It's very close to the
Okay.
Market Basket. It's down in
Across the
between
street.
Wethersfield Street and the Aguilar Diner on 133.
Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you. New business number 1, which is a letter from the Massachusetts State Lottery Commission regarding a Keno monitor. And this letter basically notifies us, the Board of Selectmen, that the state is offering a Keno monitor to Rowley Convenience at 21 Main Street in the town of Rowley, and telling us that if we object to Rowley Convenience receiving a monitor, we have to do so in writing within 21 days.
It's just a TV screen, right?
Right.
That shows the numbers? Yeah.
I guess so.
I'll give you a motion to approve.
Do we need to?
Well,
If we have no objection?
If you have no objection, you probably don't.
So if you have, you
No
don't
objection.
object, you'll
I have no objection.
No objection.
Okay. Okay, new business number 2 is a letter from the Vice Chair of the Board of Library Trustees, Janet Peabody, and Library Director Pamela Jacobson regarding an invitation to participate in meetings on the 2021-2025 Library Strategic Plan. I'll read the letter. Dear Sirs, the Rowley Library Board of Trustees is updating the strategic plan and feels strongly that the participation of a member of the Board of Selectmen would be beneficial to all. The following is the invitation that will be extended in order to recruit a committee to write the plan. We would appreciate your support. With the support of community members like you, the Rowley Public Library has accomplished much in the past 5 years. We've expanded hours, increased collection and circulation, integrated new formats of materials, and offered an average 363 programs each year for patrons of all ages. Now we need your help to create our next 5-year plan. The 2021-2025 strategic plan will guide the library's goals and objectives based on community wants and needs. We value your opinion and invite you to join our strategic planning committee. We are seeking a committee that represents a cross-section of Rowley's residents and would love to hear your perspective. Through a very small time commitment, you'll have a big impact on the service and resources provided to the library's patrons. Our first meeting is Thursday, March 21st at 7 p.m. in the library community room. Our goals for this meeting are explain the planning process, schedule and benefits, briefly report on the current state of the library and trends in library services, brainstorm goals, opportunities, and challenges for the library in the future. There will be 1 or 2 follow-up meetings which will allow for more community input in the formation and prioritization of goals and objectives. All strategic planning committee participants will receive a copy of the final plan. You do not need to attend all the meetings to be an important part of the process.
Good.
Any discussion? We're looking for someone to sit on the committee.
Do that, Joe. You were the former library.
I was on the Board of Trustees 9 years ago. I would be willing.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we appoint Joe to that and assist with the library strategic plan.
Second.
motion to appoint Joe has been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Joe. Stepping up once again.
Once again. Don't come over.
Might be easier than school.
Okay, we now have a...
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
We now have a meeting with Conservation Agent Brent Baselock, who is here to discuss 3 separate items. Number 1, the treatment of lot number 26, Saunders Lane, known as Parcel L, which is a tax title taking. Number 2, the FY20 Conservation Committee budget and transfer. And 3, utilization of notice of intent filing fee funds for FY20. Brent, thanks for coming.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Pierce and members of the Board of Selectmen. Starting off with the Parcel L on Saunders Lane. I provided your office with some information in regards to that, specifically an assessor's map showing the location of Parcel L. Parcel L, Saunders Lane subdivision was permitted in 1996 and 97. At that point in time, the definitive subdivision approval from the planning board did not make any mention of Parcel L. It only referred to Parcel A, which is on the other side of the street and is substantially larger. In the future, I hope to be addressing you on Parcel A, but for right now, I'd like to address Parcel L. Parcel L does have mention in the Conservation Commission's discussions and permitting for the order of conditions issued for the construction of the Saunders Lane roadway, which had a small stream crossing right in that area. I think this actually happens to be Selectman Snow's neighborhood.
Directly across the street, directly across the street.
In 2009 to 2010, Mr. Frank Todd, who seemed to be the last remaining trustee of Rowley Pines, consummated and completed 1,500 square feet of wetlands replication that was required for the order of conditions for the subdivision, and he consummated that on Parcel L. Parcel L, when it was originally talked about back in 1996 and 97, happened to be directly adjacent to what was being called Parcel M, which is behind that and landlocked and falls behind lots with the frontage on Saunders Lane. And apparently at that point in time, there may not have been a clear understanding of what the nature of the character of the actual landscape, the ledge, forested wetlands in there. So there was talk about how Parcel L was possibly going to provide access to Parcel M and that it might have active recreational that the town might be interested in some type of active recreation sited on those parcels. But their nature and their character apparently did not lend themselves to being developed for that. Ledge, forested wetlands, also the fact that parcel M got taken at tax title and was later sold off. So parcel L was also taken for taxes and remains on the municipal rolls and is not really designated for anything except the general municipal purpose at this point in time. Wetlands Protection Act requirements for wetlands replication require that a parcel be either deed restricted or somehow permanently protected so that the recreated wetlands cannot be later on altered, filled, dredged, or removed. In other words, when you replicate and replace wetlands, you then don't get to go back at a later date and say, okay, well, I'd like to fill those wetlands and put my driveway to get somewhere else or something. They need to be restricted. So if the Board of Selectmen and the other folks who are cognizant of active recreational needs, I'm asking you because I don't see that there's the potential for this parcel L to be utilized in that manner. Therefore, since it has a wetlands replication area on it that was mandated and permitted for the construction of the roadway, I'd like to request that it be designated as open space and transferred to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission so it can be permanently protected as open space. It happens to be directly across the street from what little frontage there is with parcel A, which then has a much bigger acreage. And like I said, we'll be talking about hopefully later on if we can resolve the tax issues with that. Saunders Lane, the roadway was taken by eminent domain back in 2006. So that being said, that's my request. If the selectmen would so choose.
So M is owned by a private party now, is it?
Pardon me?
Parcel M is
Parcel M
owned by a
got sold
private
off private party, I believe Eric Gunstrom.
Yes.
And just note that...
So there's no access that's provided by this rather small
Right.
parcel.
Right, the town
And as
line.
near as I can tell from looking at it on the aerials, you're talking 150 feet by maybe 100 feet that is, quote unquote, a 100-foot buffer zone and also a little bit of upland, up gradient of where the wetlands replication was done. So there's actually not a lot of dry land
Yeah.
associated with it.
Yeah. It's also labeled on the subdivision plan as not a buildable lot.
Not a buildable lot, correct.
And it doesn't meet the area requirement that existed back then, let alone the current one, so it's just...
Right, so
It couldn't be sold
its
as
ability
outlot.
to be sold or whatever is probably also null and void, but
Yeah.
I leave that to you folks who have better knowledge of those things.
Brent, just a quick question. On the aerial photo you have, it appears as though there's a driveway that cuts through right at the triangle. Is that still in existence?
Well,
Situation there?
One needs to remember that the assessor's boundary lines are just superimposed and they're not survey registered
Okay.
on the aerial photos. So you actually can have a plus 20 to 40 foot deviation from where that actually lies. So the actual registered surveyed plans that I have for the wetlands replication show that that is not there. There was, though, a woods access road. You will notice that the triangular point, the
Right.
boundary line that's on the left side, seems to do a little off-kilter type thing. That's because there's an old woods road along there. Whereas the boundary line on the frontage with Saunders Lanes is relatively straight as an arrow, and it turns out that it's,
This was the old ox pasture lane.
oh, really? Went
That's,
that far, huh?
that
Okay.
went way up, and when, as I understand it, like, because I was involved in this, It goes back to the founding of Raleigh.
Oh,
It was where
okay.
they brought the cattle down, and they exited right at that location.
So it's a historic cart path.
I believe it, yeah, it's not more, it's a cart path more than anything else.
Yeah.
But,
But I meant its history
Its
is
history.
from the early settlement.
yes,
So that building, the big white building there, that belongs to the house, that one lot?
Well, that's that's
That's
a
one big
private
lot.
ownership, and I believe it's the structure that you see in the lower left-hand
Left-hand
corner.
corner, okay.
Front, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay, so a motion to transfer this to the custody of the Conservation Commission, is that what you
Well,
want?
support that, I believe we'll need to place an article,
Oh.
so therefore this also transmogrifies into a request for support of an article that would be placed on the special town meeting warrant to seek that
I'll give you that
designation.
motion. Support the transfer and put an article in the special town meeting.
Second? You?
Second.
Probably.
Motions to, oh,
Uh,
sorry.
I'm gonna abstain,
Yeah,
because this is across the street from
That's
me.
that's
Okay.
smart. Motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it.
Abstain.
Thank you very much.
Number 2, when you're ready.
Yeah, so if I may segue to the FY '20 proposed budget for the Conservation Commission, Conservation Department. This has been prepared following the requirements or the directions provided in the memo for budget preparation, where the department is maintaining level funding on our expense line, and we're complying with the suggested compensation schedule. The commission would like to direct the selectmen's attention to the fact that for our Conservation Commission secretary, that as in the past, the commission would like to, has voted to direct out of the 16 hours that that position utilizes each week, we'd like to direct that 6 hours of that time be funded through the use of the Wetlands Protection Act Notice of Intent funds, which are allowed for usage for activities that are dedicated and can be specifically limited to administration and enforcement of the Wetlands Protection Act. That's why that's only 6 hours of the 10 hours of the weekly time, because we figured that that is appropriate for activities that are directly attributable to our complying with the state wetlands protection law.
Yeah, I don't have any. No problem. I'll make a motion, we recommend the budget.
Okay, motion to approve the budget has been, or recommend the budget has been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, so we need a separate motion to authorize the utilization of the notice of intent filing fee funds for FY '20 for 6 hours of the secretary's time.
Make that
Yes,
motion.
please, if you would. so.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Frank.
May I be of any other service to the Board of Selectmen
I
this
think
evening?
you think you can go if you'd like, or stay. But thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your consideration this evening.
Very good.
Okay, we have an appointment with Patrick in 3 minutes, so before that, I'll take up new business number 3, which is a review the mutual agreement for reimbursement of fuel costs proposal from Georgetown for the animal control officer. Rowley Animal Control Officer Reed Wilson also serves as the Assistant Animal Control Officer in Georgetown. Georgetown Police Chief Cudmore sent the attached letter requesting to set up a fuel reimbursement agreement when Reed uses the Rowley municipal vehicle to respond to Georgetown calls. There are 2 options. Reed will keep a log of the miles driven from his point of departure for a Georgetown call and for the miles back to his home office in Rowley. The IRS mileage reimbursement rate for business use that is set annually will be used to calculate the reimbursement amount. The log will also provide details requested by Georgetown, such as the assigned call numbers and a brief summary of services provided. Or option 2 is that the Georgetown Police Chief will assign the ACO, Animal Control Officer, vehicle as a vehicle on his fleet, and Reed can fill the gas tank once per month during the first week of each month at the Georgetown Mobile Station using the Georgetown Police Department account. Reed says he prefers option number 2.
Yeah, I think
I would too.
prefer that too. Saves a lot of paperwork and a lot of grief and aggravation.
Yep.
I recommend that we authorize option 2.
Is that a motion?
Yep.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Patrick,
Yes.
good evening.
How are you?
Good.
Excellent. So,
Okay, so you're here to discuss the FY20 highway tree and snow and ice removal budget for the Highway Department, tree warden, and snow and ice removal.
so I'll start with the highway department. The expense line appears to be raised, but we actually, per the request of the town administrator, and I believe you gentlemen, we added the town land maintenance line in with the highway department's line. That covered basically the mowing of the landfill and any work we did as well up at the Girl Scout camp. So that $3,500 we've added into the expense line, and we'll still continue those duties just under that line.
Yeah, we're just trying to consolidate and
Yep.
make things simpler.
The wages for the staff were increased as requested and dictated by you gentlemen. And I know AFSCME union is under negotiations. So any raises will be, I believe, left off until after that's done.
Yeah, just any, if it was a step.
There was a few
or-
non-union-
or, longevity,
Yep,
if there was a step increase on the grid,
yep,
to just do that step, and then we'll do the retros when the contract is funded.
yes. The highway surveyor salary, I know, I gave myself a 3% increase. I took what was given to the tree warden, and that's what I did for the highway surveyors as well. I know the personnel board's not supposed to give any recommendations on that, so that's where I went with that.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Are you the assistant emergency management officer?
I work with the chief. I don't know if I hold that definitive title, to be perfectly honest with you.
I thought that we had paperwork that said that you were.
It very well could be. I'm not 100% positive on
We were having a
that.
discussion that.
Okay.
I mean, we know you put a lot of work into that. You also do a lot of work with the stormwater management stuff.
Yes, I've done a lot of the work with the chief.
So one of the
on
things
that.
we considered was the chief gets paid the fire chief gets paid as the emergency management officer, and we were considering giving you maybe a stipend of $2,500
I won't.
as the assistant. I didn't think you'd want to turn it down.
I won't object.
I think if that's agreeable, I think
That's fine with me. Yes.
I'll make a motion that we pay a stipend, add a stipend to that budget of $2,500 as assistant emergency management.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
My other question, Pat, while I
Mr.
got,
Chairman, just a clarification, we have an emergency management department, so this would be in that.
we'll put this in the emergency
Okay.
management. It won't be in your budget, it'll be
Assistant
in,
REMA director
Right.
stipend,
Okay.
right.
okay.
My other question, obviously, is cemetery commission,
Yeah.
and there's some changes going on in your department with
Yes.
the resignation of Ron.
Yep.
And we did vote to give him a citation at a future meeting.
Oh, excellent.
Which he's done a good job. and he's
Yes, he
filled in
has.
as the highway surveyor when Scott died.
Yes.
So my question is, and I've talked to Larry, who works half-time for you and half-time for the cemetery, and I'm sure it won't be a problem it's gonna take a little doing to make a transition.
Yeah.
Particularly from the cemetery, because he knows the ins and outs over there, so.
Yeah.
But I noticed you put in for 1.5 you're looking for 1.5 new positions, is that?
I believe I put in for what would be a full-time truck driver and a full-time laborer as well.
Okay, so two.
So it was two full-time positions that I put in.
So are we still looking at a half-time cemetery?
Yes.
I'm not sure how that works out.
Yes.
Larry fit in beautifully at the cemetery.
Right, I mean, I
He
don't-
went in there like he knew what he was doing from day one, and he made a great transition, and he's done a fantastic job over there.
I don't want to speak to what he may do in the future as of
No,
right
but I
now,
mean,
but
if in fact there's some promotions, I just want you
Yeah.
to be aware that, and we need to sit down
oh yeah,
and come up with a solution if that happens. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, with a cemetery, someone dies over the weekend, they want to be buried
Absolutely,
in the week.
yeah.
You can't hold it off for a month.
right. And
Because we don't have a.
now it's been almost 2 years that Larry's been
Yeah.
working in this position. And we have found, we're getting a little bit better balance. Where during the winter time, he does spend a little bit more time with us, and we leave him alone during the springtime, especially prior to
Yeah.
Memorial Day, because he's really
Well,
has
that's
a lot
been
of
the
work
beauty
over
of this
there.
whole thing is when we need extra work at the cemetery, he
Yeah.
can work for you, and the other times of the year. So it's really, it's almost like when years ago when we were looking at making a DPW director. One of the things we wanted to do was combine like the cemetery, parks and rec, and the highway together so that we could get a better usage of people. And
Yeah.
so I mean, so just keep it in mind that when we're advertising position, assuming that Larry's going to put in for it, and if he gets it, we need to sit down and
Yes.
you and I maybe.
I don't see that. I don't see that relationship.
No, I don't either.
I don't see that changing, no matter who the person is in that position. To be perfectly
Okay,
honest
that's
with
just,
you.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
we're clear on that.
Okay, so you're looking for 2 full-timers?
I am. Yes.
So are we approving, Debbie, just the budget or separate approvals for the
I would
budget
just,
and the hiring 2 full-timers?
I think at this point, if the board took a vote, tentative till we balance everything out, if we had to modify this in some way, when I finally pull everything together, and he had to pick between one or the other position, I think.
Should we do a separate article to hire, or would that be?
Easier if it's in the budget.
But I think you definitely need 2 people. I mean, a few years ago, more than a few, I guess, when we cut you back
yes.
1 man, or you cut the departing.
The
Scott.
department, yeah,
probably
Scott
did.
was in charge then. The
We
department
cut
was
back 1 man, and
Yeah.
then we said we'll hire a couple of guys for intermittent work.
Right.
It's never.
Unfortunately, those
changed
people,
from that.
Yeah, those people just aren't out there.
No, the economy's good now, so it's harder to get people to
Right.
be available when you're going to need them.
And this year we did sustain a few injuries on the department, so it put us very much shorthanded throughout the construction season, which slowed us down immensely. So any help we could get would
Yeah.
be.
Looking at the other towns in the area with comparable roads, you're very understaffed.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I was
yeah.
gonna say too. And even with these 2 new people, you're
We're still, yeah.
still like
Still
maybe
right.
slightly below the middle.
Right.
there.
I mean, the town has grown immensely over the years,
Yeah.
even from since I started here working under Scott. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
only going to
it-
keep going.
right,
You have 50 miles of roads.
Right.
Right.
And you look at Salisbury, it's 56, they have 5 employees.
right.
And then, look at Middleton, about 56 miles, and they have 8 employees.
Yeah.
So,
No, we're definitely short.
yes,
Yeah.
it always has been.
Yes.
So we can approve?
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve or recommend the hiring of 2 additional employees as outlined by the proposal from the highway surveyor as designated for FY '20.
I'll second that.
Motion to recommend the hiring of 2 full-time people for the highway department has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Now,
So if you can work with Debbie then.
Oh, yeah,
on the
absolutely.
Positions and the funding and.
Does the board have a vote for the highway budget itself?
Yeah, we have to do that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the highway budget
Second.
as highway, approve the budget, I guess, at this
motion
point.
to approve the budget has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one I have is the snow and ice.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I increased that for next year to what we originally had set this year's at, and this year's was reduced at the special town meeting. So I set that at 175. This year it was at 165.
We reduced it as a special?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The June town meeting.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I don't remember that. But I'm getting old, so I probably forgot. So in other words, this.
Excuse me, I raised it to 185, I apologize.
You raised 185.
Yes, I did, yes.
Yeah, I think we need to raise that. I got a couple of things I want to talk about, but I think we need, I'm trying to get, I'm looking at the chart you gave us for over the last X number of years.
Yep.
I mean, I think there's only been 1 year that we've spent less than
Yeah.
what we appropriated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some years are a lot more.
We're very close this year, I'll be honest with you.
We've got to look at our funding. I'd like to, if we put that up to 195, and that'll give you 20,000 over last year, would that be, you think we can do
Well, I
that?
think we gotta wait and we can wait and see how everything.
Yeah,
ends
okay,
up
we'll
with
wait
the
and see what, this
budget.
one we might change the last, we're gonna try and, our goal the last few years has been to increase it every year, because
Yeah.
we always run over.
This year, right now, our balance, I haven't submitted any bills in about 2 weeks now, we have about a $29,000 balance right now,
Okay.
which could keep us in the black, you know, through this year, as much as I don't want to jinx myself.
I guess my concern on that, and you and I have talked about it before, is I'd like to take a look with you.
Yep, as of right now, this
And
year.
we talked about it a couple of times, and it's just,
Yeah.
somehow the time goes by and we never sit down, is to discuss ways in which we might be able to.
And it depends on how the
Tighten it
winter
up.
goes. Like this year,
Yeah.
we've spent $50,000 on material alone. Where in the contractor money we've spent this year it's about $30,000.
Yeah.
So with this year, where it hasn't been a big snowstorm winter, but we've been chasing a lot of 1 to 3 inch snowstorms, where you end up throwing a lot of material at it.
How are you doing with salt this year?
The salt, we've purchased about over 1,000 tons already.
1,000 tons?
Yep.
Compared to other years?
Compared to other years, last year we bought 1,400 ton. And we'll be over that this year.
All right, so we'll put a hold on the snow and ice until we see
You wanna
what.
just leave it at what he proposed, the 185, which,
Right.
and,
Yeah,
you know,
well-
Yeah.
if in the end there's, we're okay, then I
Okay,
can.
I'll make a recommendation, we do it at 185 pending further changes if we have enough funding.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the snow and ice budget at $185,000 has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it.
That's one of those, we spend it one way or the other anyway.
Yeah. Spend what you need.
And for the tree department, I set the budget at 20,000, which was what we originally set it at last year. And it was reduced at the special again to 15.
That's right, too, I do remember that.
Yeah,
And
I remember it, too.
the tree warden salary was increased 4% per the personnel board's recommendation.
I'd like to put that, and once again, I wouldn't mind putting it back to the 20, because we really have a lot of tree work.
Yeah, no, are you,
Because one of the things we're looking at, again, we put 50,000 in.
for an
You
article?
guys did a great job trimming along 133.
Yeah.
It didn't go much beyond 133.
It didn't go on much beyond 133, but I mean, we had them in for 6 days out there,
You did a lot of work.
and they took down 300 plus trees that were dead or dying.
So we're gonna look at, I'm gonna try and on the capital budget to put in another 50 anyway.
Okay.
More if we can get it, but I just don't know we don't know for sure what we're gonna have for money. So
I have a little money left over now, but it's enough to chase around a few stray trees
Well, that's
here
what
and
we gotta do
there.
is-
But for the most part, I used the tree budget last year to basically pay for the details that we had for that
Well,
capital.
if we leave 10,000 in the tree, that what we did? If we leave the,
Rick, you have about 7,000 left
Yes,
in
yeah.
the expense budget.
Mhm.
well, spring here, you'll probably be going through that with the.
Yeah, I'll probably use that for a few trees here and there, but I can't have them come in like they did with those
No,
machines.
no, no.
The first 7,000 pretty much covered
Yeah.
all the details for that work.
Well, if
being
we go
on
back up to the
33.
20, we,
Well, he's proposing to go to what he originally had in the budget for fiscal 19, which was 20, but at the June town meeting, we transferred
we took 10 out.
We took
To 5.
5 out.
Took 5. All right, why don't we leave it at the 5 with the 5? Why don't we, what level fund that at the 15?
Okay.
not 20, okay.
Okay.
And then, if we need, like I said, we're gonna make every effort to do a separate article for
Okay.
those trees, and then That'll give you, this money we're hoping will be used for just around town for
Yeah.
odds and ends of tree
Yep.
work. And then, that sound good?
Yep.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll give you a motion
Second.
to approve the tree warden's budget with the amended expenses of 15,000 rather than
Second.
20.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Good.
Is that it, Patrick?
That's it.
Great.
Thank you all
Thanks,
very much.
Patrick.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to new business number 4, which is an earth removal application submitted by Anthony Franciosa for the new homes on Bennett Hill Road, specifically 108, 112, and 116 Bennett Hill Road, and to set a public hearing date. So we received this application under our earth removal bylaw, and they're seeking permission to remove 500 yards in the future, and also, I guess they're seeking retroactive permission for the 700 yards that they have previously removed. I guess they were unaware of the requirement to get a permit for that. So we have to determine the hearing date. April 1 is possible, but I won't be here, but that doesn't mean you can't do it April 1. I mean, is anyone else not going to be here?
Well, it won't keep us, right now, it's such a busy time, we do have to get the input from the department heads, and I prefer maybe the 8th,
Okay,
just to at least, it's gotta go to Concom, Planning Board,
Right.
Building Inspector,
Okay.
Police, Highway, because the dust on the road and everything else that's involved with these permits, gives everybody a little
Yeah.
time to get
okay.
comments in.
April 8th is good for everyone?
April
Sounds
8th.
good.
Okay, and also, in the past, for applications that require a public hearing, the board has waived the application fee and instead required the applicant to pay for the newspaper publication and a butter mailing. Does the board wish to do this for this application?
Yeah, it sounds fine to me.
Sounds fine to me. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to set the hearing date at April 8th and to waive the application fee and instead to require the applicant to pay for the newspaper publication and a butter mailing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. New business number 5. Discuss having a ballot question on making the position of treasurer collector appointed. So that's why the treasurer is here tonight. The position of treasurer, we talked about this at our last meeting. The position of treasurer collector is elected. And in order to make that position appointed instead of elected, we would need a town meeting warrant article. And that would need to be approved as a ballot question. So I guess that would be both town meeting and a ballot question.
Yes.
In 2011, we tried to make the position appointed, and the annual town meeting approved the article by a vote of 123 yes to 17 no. However, the annual town election, which I guess was held before the annual town meeting, the ballot question lost by 23 votes, yes 401 and no 434. At that time, the town's attorney told Debbie that the ATM vote still stands, and that in the future, if the selectmen wanted to revisit this, then they would need to put the question back on the annual town election ballot. If the board is interested in having a ballot question, Debbie recommends that town council review all material and confirm that the process we are following is correct. So we talked about this at our last meeting. I think the consensus opinion was that it's not a good idea for a town to elect its treasurer, that it would be much better to have that person appointed, because then you could be assured that the person would actually be qualified for the position. Whereas if they're elected, there's no requirement to be elected that they have to have any of the expertise that's needed for the job. So, we tried once in 2011, came very close to doing it. I think it's important enough that we should try again.
So, and Mr. Chairman, I know we talked about some of the job duties of this position, and what are in the statute alone But internally here, you know, the payroll system is under the custody of the treasurer, and that's all the town employees' confidential information, you know, pertaining to social security numbers, tax withholdings, things that are not considered public records. So there has to be an understanding that disclosure of that kind of information is a huge liability for the town. Not to mention the position's bonded, and has to be good education, combination of education and work experience in finance and you know, in that area,
Right.
in order to do their job properly and have an understanding of investments and debt in the banking industry alone. We work closely with the town's bond counsels, they're specialized attorneys that review all the legal documents that the financial advisor is another person that the treasurer works for, to try to get good rates on borrowing and things like that. So it's I don't know of any town now that has an elected treasurer collector, anywhere.
No, I think we discussed the increase in salary last week with Karen. We talked about the fact that, you know, we're paying a good salary, which could very well attract at the next one. I don't know, when is
2 more years.
2 more years would attract some people that have no qualification. You only have to be a registered voter to run for the position. There's
Yeah,
no
resident of the town.
education, there's nothing. We were very fortunate that we had Jackie Vigent prior to
Yep.
Karen, and then Karen both being well qualified and
Yeah.
able to be elected. I mentioned last week, we go back in the early 90s when I was first a selectman. I was chairman of the board the year that, along with the chairman of the finance committee, we actually were able to get the treasurer at that time to resign because things were being done so poorly in that office. And we were very, very fortunate at that time to be able to have, I believe Jackie came in, I don't know who, it might not have been Jackie, it might have been somebody else, but it's an
That's not a
essential
good
position.
situation.
It's very
Yeah.
essential.
It's a potential nightmare.
And
Yeah.
there's no doubt that if this passes, that we would appoint Karen, you know, we're not
Right.
looking to put Karen out of a position.
Well, thank you.
We're looking to, you know, keep her going, but I mean, it's just when she decides to vacate, I think it's absolutely essential. I think we have to make people realize that, how important this position, I mean, all the positions, even now highway surveyor
Yeah.
and town clerk, these positions are all so technical and so many added duties and so much expertise it's needed. It's not like the old days when you come in and put a few hours in and do the payroll and go home.
This is a professional position.
My only concern is if we don't have an article at the town meeting warrant, and if we don't need one, that's fine, but I think at that meeting, somehow we need to emphasize to the taxpayers at that meeting that it's essential that we vote yes. I'm not sure
Well,
how we might do that, but
I was actually thinking that even though it's not legally required to have, to go to town meeting, that maybe we should, just
I think I
because
would agree with you. I
it'll
think
give
we
us an
should.
opportunity to make the case, so people
I think
will
it's
be better
important that we
informed.
make the case. And that might have been why it didn't pass before, if the town meeting was before.
Yeah, right.
Was before the election. People, you know, a lot of you gotta change people's minds. And I think there was a lot of distrust of the selectmen at that time, that, you know, we wouldn't appoint good people, I guess, I'm not sure, but, because we tried the highway surveyor a few years ago, and that didn't go through either, so.
Mm.
But I mean, this is something that we're running
It's the finance of the
we're
town.
running a.
Yeah.
This is really important.
Yeah.
We're running a $30 million budget here, half of it goes to the schools, but 30 plus probably. And to have an accountant and a treasurer that know what they're doing and can work together and make things happen is absolutely essential.
Yeah, the other thing is that now we're essentially limited to residents of Rowley. No one else can run for
Right.
election. So we don't have the ability to cast a wide net to find
No.
the best person like we do when we try to find a new police officer or something of that nature, you know. So you wouldn't want that for any
No.
important position in the town.
And Mr. Chairman, under Article 3, which is that standard article to set the salaries of elected officers, you could also have, if you didn't want to have an article and the town council says you don't really need to, I was thinking that would be where you would have that discussion, because that's that article that comes right before the omnibus budget article. And we have the list of all the elected officers and what their salaries are, and they're set under that statute. That would be, I think, a logical place to maybe have that discussion. with the town meeting when you vote to set that salary number. That's,
But it's a separate issue, though, isn't it? It's entirely separate. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see it as a separate warrant article
Yeah.
and have it, so that we can discuss it.
Yeah, make the case, yeah.
And for people to realize, the treasurer collector's office right now has 3 master's degrees in that office. That's very unusual. We're very lucky and very fortunate to have
Very
that.
fortunate.
But that doesn't mean that would be the same in the future.
Yeah, no, there's no guarantee.
No. So this is very important.
So I would make a motion that we put it on the annual town meeting warrant.
well, if I could run that by the town council, since
Yeah.
you already have a pre-existing vote that
Right.
is on the
Oh,
books.
okay, yeah.
That I don't know if I have to rescind that and then put the new article on.
Yeah, that's a good
So I
point.
just would like to, I suggest that and then statutes may have changed too since that time, so I'm not.
Well, in submitted based on the
If
approval
needed.
of town council, and to definitely put the question on the town ballot.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should
I'll
check with
second.
him. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay,
Thank you.
I'm staying up at budgets.
Can't get rid of you that easy, yeah?
old business, Pine Grove School Project Update. Okay, so there are 3 things to discuss under this. First is the MSBA sent us the First Amendment to the project funding agreement. The board voted to authorize Joe Perry to sign the original project funding agreement as the CEO of the project. For continuity purposes, it will be easier for Joe to continue in the role of CEO for this project. Larry Berger asked the MSBA if we could have Joe sign that agreement as the CEO. The MSBA said that we needed to confirm with town council that we can have Joe continue in that capacity. And we did confer with the town council, Tom Mullen, who said that the Board of Selectmen must vote to authorize Joe to sign that document. Debbie will do the certification of the vote as she did previously for the original agreement. Larry Berger will have Joe sign the forms at a later time. So we need a motion to authorize Joe to continue to act as CEO.
And to sign, the problem, the confusion arose because the MSBA didn't send us the signatory page for the CEO. So in your packet, you have a signatory page, but it doesn't have the CEO on it. So we will take the vote tonight to authorize Joe Perry to sign as the CEO for the First Amendment Project Funding Agreement, Pine Grove School MSBA project. And then I'll have that authorization, I'll certify that vote, who made the motion, who seconded, I'll draft up a letter that I'll sign under the pains and penalties of perjury that will be included in the packet that Joe will, at some other point in time, sign as the CEO in this other paperwork that's with the opening.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, finally,
Bernie.
Bernie, sorry.
I'm sorry, what's the actual amendment, substance of the amendment? I have no issue with anybody signing it, but it'd be nice to know exactly what the substance of the amendment is. Is
It's
it
a-
material or formal?
It's a,
It's project funding, it says.
It moves things around within the original budget.
it's still staying within the guidelines of the original budget. It just moves things on different lines, but we're still within the original guidelines.
Okay.
Okay, project construction update. Joe, would you like to address that?
We are now in phase 4, and everything is on schedule. We have moved the teachers from the bottom floor, first floor on south, to the second floor in south. Some teachers have moved for a second time, and I know one teacher on the school building committee will be moving a third time. But she is pleased with the new construction, and everything is going well with the upper south. and is looking very, very good. The timeline is very tight, and but they're on schedule for completion of the project for phase 4.
And we're 60% complete.
Yes.
Okay, and Joe, you want to address the meeting at the building committee about the site plan revisions?
Yes, we're going to, we met on Thursday night, and we had quite a discussion about the entrance from Route 1A, and there will be some refinements to the turn radius so that the school buses can enter safely into the Pine Grove area and to exit onto Route 1A without crossing the center line. And we're making sure that the signage is there for the parents to for drop off. And I think it will be sometime this summer that we will finally get the back lot paved for the school buses to go around the back end of the building.
Okay, thank you. Old business number 2 is the fire station and police station addition project update. Anything to report on, Dave?
Yeah, on that one, we're making good progress in finishing up the laundry list of small things. By the middle or the end of March, all the furniture should be delivered to the new dispatch center. Sometime probably before the 1st of April, depending on when E911, which is, the state has to move all that 911 equipment. We're not authorized to move it.
Right.
They'll come in and move everything back to the old dispatch center, and the police will basically be complete. On the fire side, the building should be done pretty much by the end of March, same thing. But since we can't do the paving and the landscaping till spring, the fire department has agreed, and we've agreed that the fire department will not move in until after the paving is done. In other words, we don't want to pave. We don't want the fire department to move in and then pave and then have the fire engines driving over the new pavement and causing it to be dented. It'll have a chance to settle in. So the fire department may not be in there till maybe the end of April, but it'll really depend on, they're trying to schedule the paving with the paving contractor early, as soon as they're able to do it, so that we can move it along. And at the same time, once the snow melts and the frost out of the ground, we'll start to do the final groundwork and the trees and grass and so on and so forth for the grounds. And we're hoping that once people are getting a lot of calls or a lot of people asking about open houses, and we haven't set any dates, but we're assuming that once everything is done, sometime when the weather's warm and the weather's nice, that's when we'll have open house for both buildings. But that may not be till May or June, depending on how quickly right now there's more snow out there than we had all winter, so it may be a while before that melts. But everything's come along real well, and we're on progress. And the good thing with the fire department is that they're okay in the building they're in now. There's no rush for them to move, although they're anxious to go. We're anxious to have them go, but we'd rather make sure that things are complete before they move in. So, and they'll be moving in piecemeal anyway. They won't make the big final move until the pavement's been done.
Could I just go back to the Pine Grove update?
Certainly.
Just to add another, on March 19th, the Pine Grove is going to have their book fair. And they're going to have a kind of an open house to show off the completed areas, especially the all-purpose room and the new kitchen, and the north wing and the upper south. And so there will be some tours available if people want to drop by. I believe they start at 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Old business number 3 is to discuss holding a hearing to consider revoking the Class 3 dealer's license and auto auction license issued to Michael Bontos for 164 Boxford Road. At our meeting last week, we discussed whether to proceed with revoking Mr. Bontos's licenses due to the fact that they were issued in violation of a zoning board of appeals decision, which we didn't know about at the time. We decided at that meeting to request Tom Mullen for an opinion on what the proper procedures for proceeding with revocation. And Tom has issued a memo and basically saying that we should provide Mr. Bontos with an opportunity for a public hearing before we revoke his licenses. So Tom's recommending that we give him 2 weeks' notice for the hearing, and due to the amount of time needed to get things scheduled, Debbie's recommending the hearing be scheduled for April 8th. So,
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman, to schedule the meeting for April 8th.
Second.
motion to schedule the meeting for April 8th has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Yes, Bernie?
Yes, last week when this came up, because this property is within the protection area for some of the wells that are out there, I was very much concerned that whatever action is being taken is done so in a way that the landowner maintains responsibility for any cleanup that's necessary in that area.
Well, I suggest, we're going to have a public hearing on April 8th. That would probably be the time to suggest that kind of resolution.
But isn't it part of...
No, this isn't a public hearing, so.
No, I understand it's
Yeah.
not, but who...
Well, the owner of the property is still gonna be liable for any cleanup or whatever. All we're taking is a license to store more cars up there,
Yeah.
And to sell.
in violation of the permit. So that
So-
he's still the landowner, and if he sells the land, he has to get a 21E and so on and so forth to make sure that no pollution there. It's an involved process, but he's still legally responsible for all that.
But my concern is that whatever pollutions can occur is going to occur when the vehicles are being moved,
Well,
and the spilling of any...
there's been a junkyard up there for the last 50 years. And so I think there's probably, without knowing one way or the other, I'm assuming there probably is some spillage that's taking place up there. And what he's done, and I see at this point, they're moving the cars out on a daily basis. They had somewhere 700 or more cars in there. But they're all either towable or on the back of a flatbed, so, yeah, there may be some more oil or gas being added, but from what's been there for 50 years, and basically until he sells the property, I don't think there's anything we can do anyway, unless we know purposely that.
Maybe the Board of Health the health agent could look into this. I believe he may have gone down to the site, I'm not sure.
I had seen Frank, and I'd asked him to go down and check on it, so I'll check with him again,
They
just to
could-
make sure.
You could file a report with the water department, and the water department surely could invite him in. And as I understand that Mr. Bontos was going back to the ZBA based on the statements made at last week's meeting by his attorney to file for a modified permit. And I think certainly the water board would want to be involved, because the issue why the selectmen have to rescind it, because they issued it in error because of the zoning wasn't in compliance according to the building inspector's stop work order. And he's not permitted to have the junk cars under class 3 or to sell. So certainly at that ZBA meeting, I think the water board should be represented in any concerns they have too.
Plus, the original junkyard was up there long before the wells were actually
Drilled and.
drilled
okay,
and put
yeah.
there.
And I do-
Those wells are relatively recent, and I say that
Zone 2?
with a broad brush.
This is well 3 and 5.
And what zone is it? Because the
This is
ZBA is
it.
the permitting authority
I
under
think
the,
it's,
It's in the Water Protection District.
so they're actually, they might fall under the zoning bylaw for the watershed protection district.
Well, they're probably grandfathered in for whatever they were before, but that's what the new permitting and the ZBA and the water board. Plus, I would ask Frank if he could go up there before that hearing date, a few days before the hearing date, and give us an update
Yes.
from the town's perspective of what the property looks like and what he sees, and give us a brief report of what he sees up there.
thank you.
Okay, so I think we need a motion to schedule the hearing for April 8th.
Yeah, I'll give it a motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, budgets.
Almost.
I was gonna start reading announcements. Town moderator, 0 increase.
Give you a motion to approve the town moderator's
Second.
budget.
Motion to approve the town moderator's budget's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'll abstain.
The ayes have it. Information services, 0% increase.
Give that motion.
Second.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Agricultural Commission, 0% increase.
Give me a motion.
Second.
Motion to approve the budget been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Animal Inspector, 1.32% increase.
I'll give you the motion to
Second.
approve.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Animal Control Officer, 8% increase. This is mostly for
That's due to the new pay scales. that
the new
we
pay
developed.
scale for the Animal Control Officer.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Health Department, which is an 8.71% increase for the same reason.
Yeah, those are all pay,
Yeah.
new chart, new pay chart.
Need a motion to approve? The Health
Motion.
Department? Yeah.
Motion.
I'll give you a motion.
Oh, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. Parks and Recreation is a decrease.
Give me the motion.
Yeah, that's just to make a note that expenses and field maintenance expenses are being combined into one item just for expenses, just
Yeah.
to make it
There's a
easier.
formula issue here. The formula didn't carry over, so it should be level funded. I'll correct that.
So should we not vote on it tonight?
You could, it's, the total is, it's a level funded budget from 19, so it's 39,734.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that motion.
Second.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. ADA compliancy.
Motion.
0% increase.
Give that motion.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. And historic, which is level funded.
I'll give you the motion.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Cemetery, which has a 5.5% increase due to the increase in wages.
Give that motion.
Yeah, the
Motion,
big thing there, just to review for Bob's sake, is the summer help previously was 10 weeks, and we increased it to 12 weeks under the town's bylaw, so.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
I'll
those
abstain.
all those opposed? The ayes have it. Streetlights, as showing a decrease.
Motion.
I'm abstaining from that.
I'll second.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Abstain from that.
Okay, announcements.
Excuse me.
We have
Hydrants.
And debt.
hydrants and debt.
Hydrants and debt.
Oh, my. Do I not have? Okay. Hydrant, 0%
Give that
increase. Motion to approve, second?
Second.
Motion to approve is made and seconded. All those in favor?
motion.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. And debt.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Just a question on that, Karen.
Yes.
Where do we stand on how much money we borrowed for the school and the police department?
So this has, excuse me, all of the police department and fire department has been borrowed because that project's coming to completion.
Right.
We borrowed a total of 20 million. And 20 million this year plus 10 million last year for the two projects combined. So we still have about 5 or 6 million to go on the school building, and it's really going to depend on, you know, once we finally get reimbursed, what that last borrowing is going to be. I do have $135,000 in here for interest because we are going to need to borrow money, and we're going to basically borrow short term, so that's a 1-year ban for about 6 million. And then once all the dust settles and we get our reimbursement,
Yeah.
you know, then we'll do a final borrowing
Right.
to balance.
So I guess my follow-up question to that is, we borrowed 30,000.
30 million.
30
I
million.
mean, yeah, 30,000.
Wish.
30 billion.
Yeah.
So, is that In other words, when the tax bills went up this year, that was for
10 million.
10 million. So there's gonna be a substantial increase in tax bills for next year based on the,
Yes, there will, but next year we have a couple of things that will be coming off.
Okay.
You know, we have the fire truck and the highway truck. And in 2021, we'll have the library coming off. So
oh, okay.
next year, you know, will probably be, I want to say, the
Somewhat
worst
less,
year.
yeah.
No, next year will probably be the worst
Worst
year.
year.
And then going forward, you know, we've got those other projects coming up.
Okay. Not good news, but it's the best we got.
Yep.
We're going to have 2 beautiful buildings.
Yes, we are.
So,
3.
3.
Great. Okay, did we vote to approve this? Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, we did. I just asked a question.
Okay, announcements?
Now,
It's all right?
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Gary.
thanks, Ken.
The town, announcements, the town has the following vacancies: Agricultural Commission, Associate Cultural Council, Zoning Board of Appeals, Associate 1 seat, and Deputy Shellfish Constable's 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The following offices are on the May 14, 2019 annual town election ballot. Board of Selectmen, 2 seats for 3-year terms. Constable, 1 seat for 3-year term. Board of Assessors, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Planning Board, 1 seat for a 5-year term. Housing Authority, 1 seat for a 5-year term. Municipal Light Board, 1 year unexpired term. And then we have a 1 seat for a 3-year term, and then 1 seat for a 3-year term. Cemetery Commission, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Shellfish Commission, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Trustees of the Public Library, 1 seat for 1 year unexpired term. Also for the Public Library, 1 seat for a 2-year unexpired term, and 3 seats for a 3-year term. Triton Regional School Committee, Newbury member, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Rowley member, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Salisbury member, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Salisbury member, 1 member, unexpired term. For more information on the election and for deadlines to take out and submit nomination papers, contact the clerk's office at 948-2081. The Rowley Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Rowley Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, no, we have a executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to go into executive
Well,
session.
we're gonna hold your horses.
I'm ready.
I'm going to call for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the following. Conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, Sean McFadden, and to conduct contract negotiations with Sean McFadden, because an open session will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Board of Selectmen under the state open meeting law, and not to return to open session. So I'll make a motion to go into executive session, or a selectman. I need a motion to...
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Bob will make the motion. I'll second.
okay, I need a roll call vote.
She is getting ready to go home.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with her.
All right. Very good, Bob. Nice to see you.
See you, Bob.
Okay.
Take care, Bob.
Take care.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Hi, Robinson.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Okay, we're in executive session.